Hello, everyone. This is Connor, and I am back to talk about another category. Today, we're talking about best sound, because for the first time since, well, actually, early 2000s, it hasn't been in practice for that long, but the sound category is now just one sound category. For the longest time, it was best sound editing and best sound mixing, and now it's just sound. And I'm torn on this, because I do feel like for a lot of the movies that got nominations in both sound editing and sound mixing, it was really just doubling up on another nomination. And like Transformers 3 is nominated for 3 Academy Awards when really it's 2, and like you don't need that extra thing. But I mean, the sound editing category did allow for a lot other types of films to get recognition. But at the same time, sometimes it wouldn't be like that, and sometimes the Academy wouldn't care, or they're just like, oh, I remember in 2017, it was the same 5 nominees and the same winner, and they did both categories right after each other. And sometimes people know the winner, and sometimes people don't. Like the one year they gave Bohemian Rhapsody both awards. It just doesn't make sense. So now they've officially decided to make it one category, and I'm going to list off the nominees, and as I do, I'm going to play a little bit of an audio clip from each movie to give you a general feel of the soundscape. So with that out of the way, fifth most likely to win is Greyhound.
Roll with fire, medium pattern, roll with fire! Hard right rudder, aye aye.
No oil slick, no debris. Fuck, I thought we had him, sir.
So I have yet to see this film. I'm not 100% sure if I will. I wasn't really paying attention to the reviews that it got when it came out, but this is the film's only nomination. It is it's a very, as I can tell, it's the kind of film that just gets sound and nothing else. It was never going to campaign for anything else. I don't know how many have seen it or remember it, or I think when you compare it to some of the other movies in this category which have more notable nominations and are higher profile releases, I kind of have to put it number 5. Because simply, I mean, the sound work, from what I can tell, is definitely very well done. I'm not going to say that the nomination itself is undeserving. I get where the nomination is coming from, but in this lineup, it does kind of seem like the obvious number 5. I'm not sure who's voting for it over these very high-profile nominees. And not to spoil it, but I think the winner is very far ahead, and I think there's a lot of very strong work going around. So, with that out of the way, fourth most likely to win is Soul.
Does this mean I'm dead?
Not yet. Your body's in a holding pattern. It's complicated. I'll get you back to your group. Come on, little souls. Get on up here. Welcome to the youth seminar. You are in for a treat.
So this is technically the first animated film to be nominated in a sound category since Toy Story 3. And if you really want to go back and consider this category closer to mixing than editing, it's the first animated film to be nominated since WALL-E. And it's definitely very good work, because not only do we have some of the more majestic, we have both. We have the sound editing, which is the creation of the soundscape of the great before, and this whole other world, and this sense of this bigger scope of this whole both afterlife or pre-life world they've created, and some very unique sound effects. But at the same time, there's also a heavy focus on music, and of Joe's music in particular, and the scenes when he's going into the zone, and the piano, and it's all very well orchestrated, and the music all sounds nice, and it's very... The sound work in this film is very well done, and I always do like it when animated films get nominated in this category, seeing how, unlike with a live action film where at least you can record some sound on set and there's like, you at the very least you have a steady foundation to go off of, everything in an animated film has to be created from scratch. And so I really do respect the work from this. However, the Academy does not share my opinions. They've only given sound editing to an animated film once, that being The Incredibles, or twice if you want to count Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And so they've never given sound mixing to an animated film, and this really does feel closer to mixing than editing. And I don't know. I think that the sound work in this film is good, and it's very good at it's being rewarded, but I do think the Academy has such a strong bias against animation, as evidenced by the fact that this movie was not nominated in screenplay or picture. And so, as also evidenced by a bunch of snubs to animated films made over the many, many years of the Academy. But I do not see this winning because of the bias alone. It's definitely very strong work, and I can see it getting a few votes, but I don't think it's going to win. Third most likely to win is News of the World.
You're good for a man of years! Ain't you just so damn tired of all this?
Help me.
Didn't we have our body and soul broke out there? Seems an awful shame for it to end like this when you could just join us. This world, rich pickings for some, slim pickings for the rest of us. God damn it!
So this movie, to be honest, it's definitely very impressive work with the with the wide open areas and with the gunshots and the boulder effect that you heard in that clip. But that scene is like really the only action set piece in the film, and most of the film is pretty standard in terms of just, I guess there's open spaces, but there's not a lot of action. I wouldn't call this film an action movie. It really just has certain select moments. But it is still a Western, and I think it's moments like the clip I showed you that is why it got this nomination. But it's the absence of moments like the one I showed you that is why it's probably not going to win. I think the fact that this movie showed up nowhere above the line means that while it is respected, it's not the most praised movie this year. And I think that people definitely like this movie, but I think being in the Best Picture category and being like a more widely seen film really, really helps when it comes to this category. And some craft categories are different than that. Like if like costume design, like you don't need to be a Best Picture nominee if you have the flashiest costumes. And for sound, you don't need to be a Best Picture nominee if you have really flashy sound. And this has notable sound, but it's not the flashiest. It's not the sound that calls attention to itself the most out of this category. So it's definitely good work, and the nomination makes sense, but I don't see how this could win. Second most likely to win is Mank.
Mank! Are you okay?
No, that almost killed me. Where's Willie?
Cairo, I think.
Can you phone him?
I don't phone him, he phones me.
When's he due back?
After November 6th, I'm joining him in Europe next week.
Marion, I need a favor.
So this film is one of only 2 nominees in this category that is also nominated for Best Picture, but the sound in this film, moreover than that, does something interesting, and that is it's trying to recreate the sound that you would hear in a film from the 30s or 40s. It's trying to bring back this bygone era of sound recreation, and they did a lot of stuff with the equipment that they brought back in the sound recording, but still tried to make it somewhat more modern than that, in cadence to what David Fincher was used to. And I think there's enough compelling things going on with this movie, and as well as the fact that it's a Best Picture nominee, to make it second in this category. I do still think that the sound work is a bit subtle, and there are going to be some people that just say it's straightforward drama. There's not some of the other movies have like the gunshots and the explosions, and that's none of that is really in Mank. But there's a different kind of sound work that's really respectable and commendable, I'd say. So I think Mank is going to get the second most amount of votes, but I still would be surprised to see it win because it's not the type of movie that you usually see win in this category. It is a Best Picture nominee, and I do wonder if the categories were split into sound editing and sound mixing. Would this have a better chance in one or the other, or would they both just go to the same film again? Because typically that's how it does. They do both go to the same film. They both went to Bohemian Rhapsody, so maybe they don't know the difference. And I actually predict that if there were two categories, they would both just go to the same film. And that film is the number one most likely to win, Sound of Metal. So this film uses sound in a way that is genuinely new and, dare I say, kind of revolutionary. It feels weird because we've had movies before where a character is hard of hearing and we temporarily go into their headspace and we get like a muted soundscape. But the way the soundscape works in this movie is really something incredible. Because obviously, the protagonist Ruben is deaf, and we're in his headspace for about half the time, and the other half we're in a more third-person omniscient headspace, so we're allowed to see what things actually sound like. And a lot of that does have to do with the general editing of the film, but the sound work is really quite extraordinary. I do love the way that the vibrations are used and the way you feel the sound all around you. Even if you're watching with not a great sound system, you still completely get what the protagonist is experiencing. And without giving away the movie, there is the section near the end of the film where the main character gets implants that affect the way he hears in both positive and negative ways, and you hear that, and the way that they make that come to life. And this, I feel like I'm spoiling the movie by talking about the big moments with the sound near the end of the film, but like, the category is called Best Sound. The movie has sound in the title, and it's so much about sound, and the sound design is really, really good. Like, it's hard to imagine this losing. Like, I don't know what I would be voting for if Sound of Metal was not in this category. It's so far and away the frontrunner for all the reasons I just described, and it's won pretty much every precursor that's happened up until this point, including a Critics' Choice. So, an American Sound, whatever the Sound Guild is, it's winning everything, and it makes sense. Like, I don't even know if I need to say more than that. Sound of Metal is my prediction. I would be absolutely shocked if anything else won. Okay, so that is my prediction for Best Sound. Tune in tomorrow where I'll be talking about Best Director. Stay tuned.